Percy in print. There was a buzz of excitement on the railway. The Fat Controller had announced that a well-known writer was coming to finish his book about famous steam engines and their journeys. Gordon and Sir Handel were being cleaned for his arrival.
"I must look my best for my interview," boasted Gordon.
"Obviously, only engines with titles will make an impression,"
steamed Sir Handel grandly.
"I've got a title. I'm a Sir."
Percy brought Gordon's coaches.
"What's an impression?"
he asked.
"It's when you're important," Sir Handel explained loftily, "and everyone remembers you. Like that time Gordon was asked to take that special,"
puffed Percy brightly.
"Oh, yes, indeed," smiled Gordon loftily.
"And ran into a ditch to avoid it,"
finished Percy.
"Oh, I remember that one."
And he ran off laughing. The writer sailed into the wharf one bright autumn morning. Duncan was there to greet him with the Fat Controller, and it was agreed that the writer could travel in Duncan's cab to the junction. Duncan was excited. Carrying the writer made him feel important. He was so pleased that he rocked and bounced all the way along the line. The writer didn't enjoy it at all, and when they arrived at the junction, he had to go and sit in the Fat Controller's office to recover.
"I certainly made an impression,"
Duncan boasted to the other engines.
"Well, he'll certainly remember you," Sir Handel sniggered. "For all the wrong reasons."
That afternoon, Gordon arrived at the junction to take the writer along the main line so he could take note of the journey for his book. Gordon was so full of steam that he raced along the line, missing 3 stations. The writer wasn't impressed.
"The journey was a complete blur," he complained. "Gordon went so fast, I couldn't see anything."
Gordon took this as a compliment and boasted to the little engines. Sir Handel was determined to be the best of all. The writer seemed relieved when he came to take him on a tour of the little railway.
"This looks like a sensible engine,"
he remarked to the guard. Sir Handel overheard, and proudly let off steam as he waited by the platform. This blew the writer's manuscript everywhere. Papers scattered all over the place, landing in a terrible muddle.
I don't think he'll forget me,"
Sir Handel told the others in the shed that night. The next day, a storm blew up, and strong winds caused damage on the island of Sodor. Trees fell on many of the lines and across some of the roads. The writer was worried. He had to get his manuscript to the printers on the other side of the island. Today was the deadline, but the road was blocked. He telephoned the Fat Controller and explained.
"I know a route," said the Fat Controller. "It runs by the coast. Percy is in the works yard. Go and see him at once."
The works manager soon found Percy and told him the news. Percy was frightened of the strong winds, but he wanted to help. He puffed carefully along the windswept line. Sea spray splashed over the harbour walls, and Percy tried to keep steady whilst the wind whistled around his small wheels. At last, they arrived safely at the printers, and the writer delivered his manuscript. He was very pleased with Percy, and asked if he could take his photograph. Percy was delighted. Many months later, the Fat Controller gathered the engines together. He had a big box of books and was handing them out to his staff. The contents were not what they had expected. He was very rude about engines like Duncan, Sir Handel, and Gordon. But on the front page was a picture of Percy as a fine example of a little 4-wheeled saddle tank engine.